And Jaguar Wright is a fully established demoness, so you know what that means. I can be that, or I could be a paladin to cleanse you of those sins and bring you back into the light. But to do so is to walk the full path of repentance. You must repent for all the things that you have done.
You better repent, Jaguar. This boy
acknowledge the wrongs that you have committed, the crimes that you have done, the evasions of taxes over the years from leeching money from other people, from your own mother, and from the people who you marry into. All of the slander you've thrown against your kind sister, your kindred family, who you spilled the blood of for years. And for that whipping that you gave me for venting frustration.
All right. So, listen, this is a pretty iconic interview.
Certainly.
I don't know how this is gonna go. I want to apologize for the after effects. I'm sure that I'm probably gonna get the bulk of the backlash, but I'm built for it. Don't you worry about it, okay?
Certainly.
And so I just want to say, viewer discretion is advised. If people are triggered, this is not the interview for you, okay? And so we actually have someone here who is you're famous by default.
Yeah, I guess so. Born and living through it.
Okay, so you are Jaguar Wright's youngest son.
Yes.
Sam Odom Jr., aka Deuce.
Yes.
All right. In the flesh.
In flesh.
In South Florida. You look amazing.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, you look. I apologize. I had to go put on my suit jacket. I ain't got no shoes on, though. They don't really see my feet in here, but you know what I'm saying? I wanted to match your swag and everything. Now, let's clear this up. You're not a child.
No longer a child. I am fully an adult in all forms.
Okay, and how old are you?
22.
22, okay. And so are you still in school? Because I know the last time we spoke during the documentary series.
Oh, yeah, that was a while ago. I've been out of school for a little bit, but as of this year, starting last week, I'm back in.
Okay. Congratulations. What are you studying?
Right now, studying to get my associate's degree in art and design.
Okay. All right. I can see you do that. IT. Because you do spend a lot of time on computers and everything like that.
Indeed. I do spend time with computers and whatnot, though. I feel my heart is more for the artistic side of the world.
Okay, I can see that. Well, shout out to Deuce. And shout out to your father, too. Me and your dad are like this. You know what I'm saying? That's your daddy. He nice looking, too. You
Certainly.
know? I know he get all the ladies all the time. So let's talk about Deuce. Listen, now I'm going to call you Deuce. Is that okay? Or would you rather?
Certainly.
Okay, cool. All right, no problem. So you are Jaguar Wright's youngest son.
Correct.
There, you had a brother, correct, who is now deceased.
Yes.
Okay, and so it's pretty much been you for a very long time.
Yes.
Okay, and so I just kind of want to give people some backstory. I did speak to you a few years ago because we did a documentary series on your mother. You remember that?
I remember.
And you gave full consent to tell, your story, and you didn't even tell everything.
Absolutely.
Right. You just basically was, stating what you had experienced, and it was very short and sweet. And we didn't, put out much when it came to that because you were still transitioning into adulthood. Okay. And so here recently, things have certainly taken a turn because you were living with your mother for some time. So you had left your father's house, okay, and you went to live with your mom.
Indeed.
Where did you guys go live when you left your father's house to go live with your mom?
When I left my father's house, or I guess to say more specifically, when I basically stepped my own self out into my mother's place. Okay. I guess to give a bit of context to that, time in Westchester University in Pennsylvania for me wasn't exactly the best to get used to. At the time, while I do like being in the school and college setting, adapting to a college as compared to a community college, it can be a bit of a tough pill to to swallow and get adapted to at times, especially for someone who was very less confident himself and someone who was not very open to be social, even though he liked to talk with other people.
Okay.
So at the time, it was very hard to be very open with others, even with those in my family. And at the time, I had gotten in my head at the time that people must be very disappointed in me, the fact that I'm failing and I'm hiding it from them.
Okay.
And they didn't. And at the time, I saw it in myself to say, move with my mother, because I saw more of myself as a failure, but maybe she could see something in me.
Okay. So you were living with your dad and then you went to school. You didn't do very well in school. And so you decided, because you were failing, let me go stay with my mom and hopefully...
Yeah, try to maybe recenter myself, try to find some sort of equilibrium. And that's and that summer after May, that's when I moved to the legacy of Cedar Hill in Cedar Hill, Texas, with my mother. And at the time, my grandmom Frances and Gerald.
Okay. And so how was when you initially got there? And I do understand that, because leaving high school, going into college, you know, kids, y'all are not built like how we were built these days. You know what I'm saying?
Most certainly.
Right. And so, you know, your dad, he had well prepared you. And, you know, there's only so much preparing we can do for kids.
Yeah. Suffice to say that my transition into college was definitely an awkward one, especially since I graduated in 2020 when, you know.
During COVID.
Yeah, during COVID, when the outbreak was at its peak.
Okay.
So I definitely say the blow was definitely a bit blunted by me going to community college online at first for my freshman year.
Okay.
That definitely softened things up because I was able to stay at home. I know when my father was going to come back, I could keep easier track of my assignments, and I got good grades while I was there, especially in the ones I wanted to focus on, which were primarily art.
Okay. Okay, cool. So you get to Cedar Hill, Texas, with Jaguar, your mom.
Yes.
And what was the move pretty smooth?
The move was basically very smooth. Granted, there are some things that I do kind of regret. Well, it's a light regret that'll pass in no time. Basically, the move was a simple flight. Well, it was a 2-flight trip. She couldn't book me a direct flight over to Dallas, Fort Worth. Okay. So I had to take the plane over to Las Vegas, and then I waited in the airport over there in order. No, not Las Vegas, Los Angeles.
Okay.
Before I took the flight to Dallas, Fort Worth.
Okay. Okay. And so it wasn't as smooth as you wanted
it. It's not exactly the perfect definition of smooth, but it's basically extremely smooth. I'd say 90%. And that's mainly because I've been flying across the place my entire life.
Okay. Okay. So you get there. Where was your mom staying at that point in time?
She was staying at the legacy of Cedar Hill Apartments.
With Gerald.
Yeah.
Her now ex-husband.
Now ex-husband, yes.
Okay. And this is the first time that you lived with your mom since you were...
This would be the first time that I would be living with my mother since, I would say, December of 2017, a bit before that Christmas.
Okay. And so before that, how long had it been? How long did you live with your mom from 2017 up until... What? How many years?
Let's see. I'd say in between the times that I've been living with my mother, because the way how the custody worked, let's see. It was originally that I would stay with my mother during the active school year before 7th grade in 2015, I believe, when it switched to my father during the active school year. Okay. But basically, I would stay with my mother originally during the school year. I'd be with my father during the weekends if it were possible, or during the holidays. And then it basically became the inverse when I stayed with my father during the active school year, and I'd be with my mother during the holidays. Okay. However, of course, those holidays were quote unquote extended when she effectively held me with her during those times, in which can be considered as kidnapping.
Oh, damn. Okay.
Yeah. Basically, to give a full-on summary in the times that I had extended stays with her, to put it at the lightest form, I would go with my mother. I'd tell her how things had been when I was with Dad. I'd express some things that had given me some discontent, like, for example, back when back in 2015, in the summer of 2015, when I was with my mom in a place in Philadelphia with a friend. She said I was kind of hiding it initially, but I told her what happened between my father and the woman he was staying with at the time, and how they had that messy breakup in the apartment, and how we got forcibly moved out by security.
Okay.
And that, to me, at that time stuck out to me because that was effectively a similar form of eviction. And I had already gone through that twice up to that point with my mother.
Okay. Okay.
So
it triggered you?
Yes. You can say, yeah, it's definitely safe to say that it triggered me. It made me feel very unsafe. It developed a paranoia that no matter where I go, it was only temporary and that I'm never going to have a permanent home, or the things and the memories that I've made are going to fade away eventually. I'll never get them back.
Okay.
I told this worry to my mom, at least how I could, as a 12-year-old at the time, or I believe 12-year-old at the time.
Okay.
And she basically gave me a sort of ultimatum. If you want, you could stay here longer with me. And as far as school, you could take some classes online. Now, I can definitely tell you that a panic and fear-induced child, a 12-year-old at the time who didn't know what exactly this meant or the idea of what this would mean in terms of the custody, isn't exactly in the right headspace to make these very life-impacting changes. But I effectively said yes to my mom out of fear of not wanting to go through the same thing again with Dad. Because I felt like the same thing was going to happen with the friend that me and him were with in the rest of the time that we were in Chicago. Okay.
Because, I mean, your mom, she's lived a pretty, kind of just fast life per se. So it was something that you kind of got used to. And so was this the first time that your dad had been evicted?
Yes. I would say it's to my knowledge, it's the first and only time we've been evicted. But even in that point, it was a very light one. He basically got on work immediately afterwards, and we got both of us were able to stay with the friend he was with in a condominium down the street from Obama's house. Okay. And since my grades were so high, he even did what I would consider a mercy, some would consider a mercy, in being able to basically head with my mom early and basically end 7th grade early, since my grades were so high.
Houston, get ready for a New Year's Eve experience that will go down in history. I'm live on stage at the Bayou Event Center, December 31st. Doors open at 8 p.m. and the show starts at 9 p.m. followed by an after party that might shut down the city. And let me take the time to thank our sponsor for this event, Rockstar Wireless. And if you're looking for reliable and affordable wireless service, Rockstar Wireless has plans starting at just $19.99 a month that offers unlimited talk, text, and up to 15 gigabytes of high-speed data. Visit rockstarwireless.com now. Hurry up and get your affairs in order and get ready to bring in New Year's Eve with me, Tasha K, on stage. Tickets are selling real fast, so reserve your seat now via my website, TashaKOnStage.com, and I can't wait to party with y'all in Houston. Paris.
Yes.
You released a video of you and Dewan Blair in the bed. Angel Love from Basketball Wives, Baby Daddy.
This was my husband. Mm-hmm. This was going to be my husband. You would have still had me just like he had her, but you crossed the line with somebody in my house.
He brought somebody in your house?
In my bed. And you're cheating and lying to me, saying that you're out of town and you're 9 minutes down the street.
He brought somebody that was 400 pounds?
A big, thick, chunky guy. I see you have a fetish of chubby people. But damn, 5'8" and 350, almost 400 pounds, that's beyond me. You see me walking here, I don't look like that. You see the class and the sophistication that I have.
Watch this full program and other exclusive content on www.TashaKLive.com.
The olive leaf extract can reverse high blood pressure and diabetic high blood sugar, or the sugar as some of our grandmamas may call it. It can also kill any nasty little bugs in your bodies like parasites, bacteria, fungi, tumors, and much, much more. And if that's not
not enough, you can also tell certain cancers like breast, prostate, colon, liver, and skin cancer to take a seat because the olive leaf extract has been known to fight it. And their friend lupus can get it too. So visit myoliveleaf.biz to help get your health in order.
Do you remember your score? Like as far as your IQ?
I do not know. I do not remember when I had my IQ tested. However, I am well aware that it is quite high.
Okay. So, living with your mom how would you describe growing up with with your mom being a celebrity like Jaguar Wright? How would you describe that?
Well, the celebrity experience was definitely quite an interesting one. I got to experience many things over the course of my life. I mean, I believe it was when I was 1.5 years old when she had to take a trip overseas to Tokyo.
Oh,
an interesting experience that I have fond memories of, and slight traces that allow me to speak the minuscule bit of Japanese that I know now.
Oh, okay. You remember when you was one?
I do not remember the vivid depictions of it, but I can definitely sense that the memory is there. It's dormant, but I can still recall it.
Okay. And you speak some Japanese?
A little bit. I learn it from the media that I watch.
Okay. And so what else did you, just kind of experience with your...
In terms of experience, moving, especially via travel through plane, was something that I got used to. It makes flights nowadays seem pretty trivial in comparison. I'm a very calm person, even when I was very young, and didn't really make much noise while on the plane. It was something I was accustomed to.
Okay. Have you ever, because your mom claims that you have, I believe, autism, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
Why are you taking a deep breath like that?
I'm taking a deep breath right now because this is gonna be one of the many instances in which how I describe my mother is gonna vastly differ from how I described her in our last interview.
Okay.
Basically, the claim of autism is completely false.
Okay.
If it seems like I have autism, it's just the fact that I'm very socially awkward when it comes to people. Even nowadays, I don't consider myself a member of Gen Z in terms of behavior. I'm if I am, I'm very highly intellectual, far from the norm.
Okay.
And I have my own measure in which I study things and decipher things. I take a lot of things into detail, especially when it comes to nature or artwork, hence how I like the art word so much, especially when it comes to music too, deciphering certain things here and there that many people may miss. Or say, for example, when someone's editing something, I may come across a couple gaffes here and there that other people may dismiss on the majority, but only a very few will feel, but say, I'm not so sure about it.
Okay.
This, to my mother, feels like something on the form of autism that could be possible, but it's not exactly the case. For example, I do not strictly order things in specific patterns or whatnot. I haven't really cared for it. What I do care for is organization, as it keeps things clean, to keep things tidy, and makes things easier to move around.
Okay.
But that isn't a consistent thing that I double down on.
Okay. So has she told you that you were autistic?
She has told me many occasions, but like always, there hasn't been a doctor to confirm it.
Okay.
She's always been wanting to do so, but I believe even if I see a doctor now, the result is going to come up negative.
Okay. What about Asperger's?
Asperger's, same thing. Not the case.
Okay. All right. And so has she said anything like that to you? I mean, because like she's very open with these interviews about, I guess the condition that you were born with and that she's, gotten benefits for. And so like, any mother, like we know our children, but your dad he stands 10 toes down and says, there's nothing wrong with you. He just says like, you just do things differently.
I agree more with my father than my mother in this case.
Okay.
If I indeed had Asperger's autism or autism in general, I feel like my behavior would be even more radically different than so. And my behaviors to many things would be a lot more different than was the case. I mean, I've gone to many schools over the years, but across all of them, I treat them all the same way, and I'm just with my own very high cognitive function, and I'm capable of doing well in any environment, really, and even adapting to different environments, whether it be different schools, different states, or even different jobs now.
So you could take care of yourself?
Certainly.
Okay. And you don't need like daily assistance in doing that?
I don't need daily assistance.
Okay.
If I were in a financially stable position, I'm capable of maintaining that by myself.
Okay. Okay. Now, when you did move with your mom to Texas this last time, your grandmother was with you.
Yes.
She's no longer with you all. Your mom was arrested on live one day when she had, I guess maybe she was evicted in Texas and she drives to Louisiana.
Okay.
And then she's on live. I don't know if you remember this day. She was in a hot tub.
I remember that.
And you guys were inside a hotel and it was like boxes stacked up everywhere. You guys were hungry. There was no food. I guess maybe you were playing video games, and she gets arrested. Like, do you remember that day?
You would like me to give further details on
Yes,
that?
I do.
Certainly.
Okay.
Okay, so about that that eviction, the fourth eviction that she's had to go through, same with me, and will be technically my fifth eviction if you count the one with my father.
Okay.
So on the night before that eviction, I saw the eviction notice, basically the pink slip in a yellow sheet saying, you need to move all of your things out now or we will forcefully remove it from the apartment.
Okay.
On my old phone, which I have in my room, unfortunately it's broken. I have to get it repaired in order to show the message. I sent her the picture of it saying, what are we going to do about this? But she said to me that it was perfectly fine. There's nothing to fret over it. Just relax in your room.
Okay.
Basically treating it as if it were normal. And even back then, when I was, very quiet about kind of dissenting towards my mother's word, I felt alarm bells ringing in the back of my head. That paranoia was striking again, but it felt less vivid than it did in the previous times, like it was becoming normalized. Okay. Even though I believe everyone can agree that 4 evictions is something no one should go through. 1 at most.
Okay. I agree.
So that eviction happened and all of the things were moved outside in boxes and trash bags and whatnot. And my mom had to get her ID in order to get the Penske truck in order to move things out.
Okay.
And me at the time, even back then, it was in the back of my head, but I can definitely tell you now, antics have been going on at the legacy of Cedar Hill at the time. I even remember the instance in which some young kids were beating up an elderly man out on the outside. And I knew at that time that with how controversial or at worst infamous my mother had been in that area, if we were left out there in the middle of the night, we were basically free shots for them to vent out their frustrations, vent out their anger, mess with us, toy with us, get popular on social media. I couldn't allow that. Not to myself, not to my mother, not to my grandmother, and not to Gerald.
Okay.
So Gerald was gone at the time, but if he were with us, also for him too.
Okay.
I was going to do what it takes to get us that truck before sundown.
Okay.
So I searched around in each of those bags, constantly looking for it. And I swear to you, my hunger and dehydration at the time, since I didn't have much to eat after breakfast and since we were evicted in the noon, it made me feel like that I was searching every single bag, but I couldn't find it anywhere. And I felt like I was losing it until my mother finally caved and got me some lunch over at Fuel City. Okay. And then in that evening when the sun was starting to go down, I had finally found the bag, her pocketbook, her purse, which had her ID. And I felt so relieved. Oh. Now, looking at a recent stream, well, not recent, but several weeks ago now from from someone who has kept an eye on my mother, which I'm very thankful for, Miss Danny Robertson. Someone in her chat mentioned that my mother had actually staged the hiding of her purse just to get some fame of the situation.
Oh, what do you mean?
In other words, she purposefully hid that bag away, even though we needed it in order to get the truck.
Okay.
And had me searching around, and it recorded me frantically searching around and her basically talking loudly and brashly to Grandma Frances. And then once she felt like she had milked enough of the situation, she had basically placed it in a spot for me to find it. In which I did that search again and then found the purse.
Okay.
So
she recorded you on live doing all this?
Secretly behind my back, yes.
Okay.
I do not like that. But as of right now, I basically dismiss it as one of the many things that I figured out over the course of these 2 years now. Oh, well, 1 or 2 years. Yeah, basically 1.5 years now since I've been away from her, that have made me view her in a much more negative light. And
like how?
Okay. I specified this in the kind of interview that I did with with Sean Davy Way.
Shout out to Sean Davy Way.
Right. But to put it the Cliff Notes version, I've separated my mother into 2 people.
Okay.
Jacqueline Suzette Wright, her legal name, and Jaguar Wright, her stage name.
Okay.
I love Jacqueline Suzette Wright. She is my mother, and I love her with every bit of my being, in spite of the things that she's done. However, Jaguar Wright is the kind of person I abhor.
Okay.
To give you the Cliff Notes version on how I view Jaguar Wright, she is 5 things to me.
Okay.
She is an overpossessive siren who lures any people who try to be kind to her into her den and protects the things that she owns, whether it be her gained wealth or, even at worst, her own sons, whether they be dead or alive, like a dragon protects a hoard of gold. That's 1.
Okay.
2, Jaguar Wright is a vindictive thief who hates those who have slighted her or have done any wrong to her in her eyes, stirs the pot of bad blood for well over a decade, and pettily steals things from those whom she hates for her own purposes or for her own hatred.
Okay.
3, she is a dead son of narcissism who has been overfueled with the eutrophication of love from her father and her mother at such a young age, well before her double digits, that it spoiled her rotten and led her to believe that she was a shining star amidst the cosmos, when in actuality she burnt out.
Oh.
4, she is a hyperbolic criminal with the mask of a cultist who has spread and blown things so far out of proportion to the point where hopefully nobody will find the truth of the matter, and to keep her name in the circles of controversy so that all the attention will always be on her. And likewise, hypocritically proclaiming to my now late half brother to never play a game series from Rockstar known as GTA, Grand Theft Auto, when she has effectively done the same herself in real life now. And 5th, and people watching this are probably going to remember this one, and they're probably going to be laughing at this. 5th, Jaguar Wright is a profane prostitute. A modern-day Kadishtu indoctrinated by the 4 women of the Zohar to be in communication with the devil in our religious faith, and to bring harm, or at worst, even death, upon members of our family.
I wasn't ready. I'm so sorry, dude. So sorry.
That's the Cliff Notes version.
I'm going to hell. I'm going to hell.
Please.
Dudes, I'm going to hell. Dude, I got to tell you something, though, for real. You have your mother's gift of storytelling.
I am a writer. I am a very minor but somewhat self-trained music composer.
Okay.
And an artist.
Okay.
I have the gift of art flowing through my veins.
Okay.
So that much is most certainly a fact. And I am capable of painting together very narratives of sort.
I was going to say, your mother, like, you guys have the same storytelling elements. I'm just, I love it. I love it. I love it.
The key difference with, yes.
Yes.
No.
Okay, go ahead.
Yes.
Go ahead, dudes. I'm sorry. All right.
Now, those things I have kept separate with Jaguar Wrights.
Okay.
As in her actions and her persona.
Okay.
As they say, hate the sin, not the sinner. Mm-hmm. And over these years, over this year and a half, I realized all the wrongs that my mother has struck upon me and has tried to do with me.
Okay. Like what?
To an all-encompassing degree, she's attempted to use me as a pawn, a weapon and shield against those whom she hates, including her own family, for her own purposes, to manifest her ideal reality into real life, and that is to be the hit star that she never was.
Oh.
Or at least the hit star that she tried to be, but was stolen away from her when those in a higher position used her as a sacrifice.
What do you mean a sacrifice?
I heard this from a member of my family,
Okay.
an aunt who I keep in contact with, and I'm pretty sure you can connect the dots to whom I'm talking about.
Okay, cool.
Basically, my mother's career started in rap. But she didn't see the light in it at the time.
All right.
And frankly, she was probably striking out in it too early, didn't see the confidence in it, and probably would have seen the confidence in it when artists like, say, Nicki Minaj got on board.
Okay.
So she broke into singing, and she was doing really well at it too. She had the angelical voice gifted by God himself. However, the group that she was with at the time, the Roots, they saw her as a good artist, but they also saw her as the perfect scapegoat to get away with whatever they were doing at the time. Okay. Whatever that was, I cannot say. I'm not in the situation myself. But they used her as a sacrificial lamb. And that blood spilt from the lamb is basically where all of that hatred stews.
Oh, okay. So, okay. I get you now. Now, you said your mama was a prostitute. Where'd you hear that from?
Originally, the prostitute line was something that I came up with myself because in 2023, in I believe February or late January, this was in the time me and my mother were in contact with Miss Legina Gold at the time.
Okay.
At the South Side.
The one who said that she's Aaliyah's daughter.
Okay.
Okay. She said she's Aaliyah R. Kelly's daughter. Okay.
I do not know the full details on it myself, so I will not give my word on it. But to whomever she belongs to, it does not matter. She is another person. She is another person like me and like my mother and everyone else.
True. Okay, go ahead.
She admitted to us on that one particular day on the south side of Lamar in Dallas, the one apartment place with all the music, with all the studios, and right down the street from Zalat Pizza. She admitted to me, from her own words, of an instance of adultery that she committed while she was still married to my father.
Oh.
Before the divorce.
Oh. And what was that?
I do not know the person whom she was with at the time, and she did not say the date or the year when it happened.
Okay.
But she told me that she did it. Whether that was a boast or whatnot, I cannot say for certain, but I'm willing to bet that she has. And apparently, from what I've seen, having been dug up as of more recently, apparently she has prostituted herself multiple times in the past. I cannot confirm since I haven't heard the full details, but I have heard the word across the street. And I have even heard of an instance where my mother was live one time when she exposed her naked breast online for the internet to see. And that there was even an instance where my mother was naked underneath the moonlight, like she were from Twilight, a werewolf. Could you imagine how disgusted I must have been inside at the time?
I can't imagine you are to see your mama naked. See, people got to understand these kids are affected. And that I could tell that affected you. You saying that with so much passion.
It's absolutely disgusting. And so I basically committed, from there, the belief was basically true. She was effectively a succubus.
What is that?
A succubus, a night demon whose only methods of survival is by draining the sexual energies of man, basically carnal desires. And they do not care whom it is with, for they can switch across their body to be whomever it is. Man, woman, anyone else in between, does not matter. My mother lives off of a similar energy, but not solely of the sexual desire.
What energy is that?
Well, it's hard to fully decipher because it's a coalescence of many. However, to say that this energy is nonetheless a demonic one and is a cyst is basically self-evident. She has leached money off of many people. Those who had, forgive me for saying this, foolishly given it to her in spite of all of her wrongdoings, as well as taking the money from her own mother before she passed. Now, she's told me on many occasions that the money that she made was from Philadelphia, but that's not true. She was getting that from grandma. Her retirement fund, the pension that she was getting because her husband, my grandfather Norman, was a former Marine. Her 401k, she got that all from her. And the extra money she can siphon from Gerald.
So she got money off of you too?
Let me see. Was there a time that I gave, I guess there were instances where I did give money to my mother.
I'm talking about, but she wasn't drawing a check for you?
She wasn't drawing a check from me, nor has she ever done so since I've been apart from her and I started making my own money. And she never will.
Okay. And so basically you're saying that she was stealing money from your grandma, your late grandma.
Yes. Stealing. Effectively siphoning from her.
Okay. But you got, okay, so back to the hotel when you guys were basically evicted out of the apartment and you went to the hotel and your mom was arrested on live for that. Like, you guys were hungry that day. And it was I talked to Sean David Way and I've seen videos of him where he was really emotional about what he had seen, and he couldn't believe the conditions in which you and your grandmother were living based off of your mom doing videos all day and was collecting your grandmother's check.
Yeah. Suffice to say, my mother is terrible with spending, a common symptom amongst some celebrities. She's not very good with handling her wealth, and she likes to spend it on a couple of things, a lot, and not in the things that matter, but in the things that she desires. Which has led to many instances where she kept the money to herself and there isn't much money left for the rest of us to basically split it when it comes to groceries.
Okay. So you guys were hungry and homeless because she couldn't budget.
Yes.
Okay. You got a folder in your hand. What's in the folder?
Oh, I thought that I'd basically show some things to you. Maybe some things I made a while. But
Like receipts?
unfortunately, no receipts. I haven't captured anything from the time. But basically,
Okay.
I have the original drawing that captures everything that I view that my mother has become.
Okay.
I have a more quality version that I adapted into a digital
This is a
picture.
demon.
That is a succubus.
Okay. And this is an angel.
Yes. To put it in full visualization for everyone to articulate.
Okay.
The olive leaf extract can reverse high blood pressure and diabetic high blood sugar, or the sugar as some of our grandmamas may call it. It can also kill any nasty little bugs in your bodies like parasites, bacteria, fungi, tumors, and much, much more. And if that's not enough, you can also tell certain cancers like breast, prostate, colon, liver, and skin cancer to take a seat because the olive leaf extract has been known to fight it. And their friend lupus can get it too. So visit myoliveleaf.biz to help get your health in order.
Paris,
Yes.
you released a video of you and Dewan Blair in the bed. Angel Love from Basketball Wives, Baby Daddy.
This was my husband. This was going to be my husband. You would have still had me just like he had her. But you crossed the line with somebody in my house,
He brought somebody in your house?
in my bed. And you're cheating and lying to me, saying that you're out of town and you're 9 minutes down the street.
He brought somebody that was 400 pounds.
A big, thick, chunky guy. I see you have a fetish of chubby people. But damn, 5'8" and 350, almost 400 pounds, that's beyond me. You see me walking here, I don't look like that. You see the class and the sophistication that I have.
Watch this full program and other exclusive content on www.TashaKLive.com.
Houston, get ready for a New Year's Eve experience that will go down in history. I'm live on stage at the Bayou Event Center, December 31st. Doors open at 8 p.m. and the show starts at 9 p.m., followed by an after party that might shut down the city. And let me take the time to thank our sponsor for this event, Rockstar Wireless. And if you're looking for reliable and affordable wireless service, Rockstar Wireless has plans starting at just $19.99 a month that offers unlimited talk, text, and up to 15 gigabytes of high-speed data. Visit rockstarwireless.com now. Hurry up and get your affairs in order and get ready to bring in New Year's Eve with me, Tasha K, on stage. Tickets are selling real fast, so reserve your seat now via my website, TashaKOnStage.com, and I can't wait to party with y'all in Houston.
That demon looks somewhat similar to a disheveled articulation of my mother. I had once believed that she was a good person infested by a hive of demons. But in actuality, no. She had converted into a full-on demoness when she was completely filled with love and not enough discipline.
Oh, so basically spoiled.
Yes,
Okay.
spoiled. Hence the narcissism. It may not be medically stated, but it is effectively true. This is egotism in its fullest form, mostly. Articulated from one being.
Okay.
She has been stranded in an abyss that she has cast herself into for all this time. And in my digital formulation, that abyss is much more articulated. And she is floating in front of very olden teeth. The teeth of the spiritual beast Leviathan, the primordial aquatic beast God had sent down from heaven. And for those of you of the religious sects who know this, you know what that means when my mother is in front of those jaws. But for those who don't, it is long speculated that in the spiritual world, the Leviathan's maw serves as the entrance to hell itself. My mother is basically floating right in front of it. But she's not swimming away. Why? Because there is a mirror of tenebris, a fell reflection that is portraying to her her ideal world. The angel that she once was, all grown up, singing the hymns of God like she were an angel, thus keeping her trapped down there. Her vocal cords stripped away and given to an irreprobate mind. That is whom Jaguar Wright is, while the mirror is what she thinks she is, and what, at least I can articulate, is a imperfect articulation of Jacqueline Suzette Wright grown up.
You just taught me something today. So if you spoil a kid and never discipline a kid,
this is what becomes of them. Love, as beautiful as it is a very meticulous, double-edged dance. It is a rose, a beautiful flower that is protected by thorns. And too much of something can turn into a bad thing. And depending on what it is, it can either be something very light that can be cured, or an insidious, vile, serpentine poison that can corrupt a person for as long as their life allows them if no one stops them. Too much love is what turned my mother into the demoness that her persona is now. All of the wrongdoings that she has done, the abuse, whipping me with an extension cord for trying to vent out her frustration for her father dying, the manipulation, trying to turn me against my own family, trying to put my grandmother Tina into a troubling situation with the cops in Plymouth meeting, trying to get me down to her, the crimes she has committed, from simple misdemeanors to being on a wanted list in Grand Prairie, the horrid physical abuse and rueful fear she inflicted upon my brother, the awful elder abuse she put Grandma Frances through, especially in that one call that I heard when my Aunt Lachelle wanted Frances to speak to Mom before she died, and in Jaguar's bitter hatred, referred to her elder sister and her mother as a bitch. That most certainly broke her heart. That is all the insidious things that she is now. And as far as things go right now, if she is not stopped, if you are not stopped, mother, if you do not stop running away, stop swimming around in that abyss of yours, looking in that mirror, you will be swallowed by Leviathan, and you will join Lucifer. And in the time of Megiddo, in the Armageddon, me, Giovanni, your mother, your father, your sisters, all of us, we will have to shed tears knowing that you will be abandoned to the fires of Armageddon, to be purged and burned away with the devil and the rest of those swayed by him. I love you as mother to son, but as a person, I could never stand behind a demonic prostitute, especially one who has learned the ways of witchcraft, of seduction, and the vile ways of twisting God's word to your own benefit from those of the cohorts of Samael, the poison of God. And don't even try to stop me in my endeavors. I know what you're going to try and do. You're going to try and bring up the AI thing again And like I said with Sean Davy Way, I'll say it here now. Those who dare dismiss my words, my brain, my thought, my soul as nothing but an artificial fabrication, see yourself out. Your brain is far too disheveled and withered to engage in this very touching situation. This is why family matters. Stay within the family. You want to bring up all of these things in public? All of these personal things that happened, these little falsifications of stories of what happened when you quote unquote got You want to bring up the abuse that happened in your childhood, all the mistreatment from your siblings when you were the one who was pampered? You want to bring all of this to light? Then that gives us the green light to be able to inflict that exact same thing on you, but with the mirror of truth. I can be your crusader, mother, but if you want to test my patience, I can very well be a demon slayer to you. And by demon slayer, in video game terms, I refer to myself as the Doom Guy on Mars, slaughtering demons with a shotgun. And Jaguar Wright is a fully established demoness, so you know what that means. I can be that, or I could be a paladin to cleanse you of those sins and bring you back into the light. But to do so is to walk the full path of repentance. You must repent for all the things that you have done.
You better repent, Jaguar. This boy
acknowledge the wrongs that you have committed, the crimes that you have done, the evasions of taxes over the years from leeching money from other people, from your own mother, and from the people whom you marry into. All of the slander you've thrown against your kind sister, your kindred family, whom you spilt the blood of for years. And for that whipping that you gave me for venting frustration, unjust frustration, with an aux cord that could have given me a bleeding injury if you struck with the head of it. Back in 2009, when I was 7 years old, after Grandpa Norman died, after you effectively railroaded me and Giovanni to not go to that funeral, his funeral. These are things you must repent before you are freed from that reprobate mind. Because your soul is on the verge of total corruption from the hands of Lucifer. And don't you dare try to say that I'm not your son anymore. I have that birth certificate that says that I am your son, that I am the son of Jacqueline Suzette Wright and Samuel Douglas Odom. I can basically see how our conversations are going to go now if you continue down this path. I boiled you down to that of a simple, non-playable character. You're not even a villain anymore. You're a second-rate person whose very words can be simplistically be dissected and written out. And once again, to quote from my musical Bible, when it comes to regards about you, why calculate you? No, it's calculated. I can even predict your angles. And I can see that you're being very silent now, seething in your hatred. You want to walk away from this to try and ignore the pain. You are not Aubrey Drake Graham. You have no popularity to hide away.
Not Drake.
You cannot hide away from this. You can't just stay silent and try to pretend that you're a better person. You need to actively change yourself now. You're coming up to 50. prime time for a midlife crisis. Look back upon your life.
Oh, Jesus. Fuck that.
Were all the things you did in this life worth it up till now? And when you do, when you finally take that mask off and see what's under those achievements, will you be proud of what you did? Or will you be rightfully abhorred as I am now?
It's, Deuce, that was a lot. That was a lot, Deuce. That was a whole lot. And I know that I'm going to hell with your mother. I'm going straight to hell with your mother. You are an adult, and she has put you out on the internet, and you have a right to respond. And being that your mother isn't too fond of me, a lot of people are going to take this the wrong way. However, I am very fair. I've had your mother on this platform. She has said some things about you. She has said things about you on other platforms. So you have the right to respond back, regardless of how people view you or think of you. You still have a mind of your own. You make decisions on your own. You take care of yourself now. And it may not be what we're used to traditionally, but you know, your feelings are still valid. And I'm not invalidating your feelings. I got to tell you, this is going to hit hard on social media.
This most certainly will cause a tidal wave.
Yeah, and I'm going to be caught in the middle, but Deuce, I'm on your side, okay? And I'm on your side simply because when you have a platform like this, it's best that you be fair and not biased.
Certainly.
And I've had your mother, I've had your father, and I've had you, and you have been the topic of many conversations and many YouTube videos over the years. And so this is the first time that you are actively hitting back, and you're not blaming the public. You are blaming
I'm blaming the thing that dares call itself my mother when it's not my mother.
Oh my God. Oh my God. I'm going to hell.
I do not blame the public for any of this. They can only know such limited information after all. And we have to work on so few information. Sometimes you have to make a split decision and you're not sure if you're making the right choice or the wrong choice with it, especially in matters like these. So I do not blame them. And I do not blame the people who may follow my mother simply because they like her music, which
I don't think they've heard her music for a very long time. So it's been
for a very long time.
Her stories are very captivating, and you have that same gift. You know that, right?
Absolutely. Many of the gifts I've gained from my mother and my father. The reason why they've become as such is due to the people who I've been with. I was a good kid that was given good leadership.
Okay.
And with all the knowledge that I've gained in this age of information and the internet, I've effectively become somewhat of a modern day scholar, a modern day erudite, if you will.
Okay. All right. So anything else you want to add before we wrap this up, Deuce? You got something else in the folder or something you want to show me?
Well, I guess if you'd like, I can show you some of the a bit of the progress of a proof of my own talent.
Okay.
This here I made this Monday when I was in school.
All right. So you use art as a way of expression.
Art is a form of human expression.
It
me,
is.
like many artists.
It is the conversation. It is the language of God.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So we're gonna take a picture of that. And what is this?
This here, well, it is for the pet project that I've been working on for many, many years.
Okay.
Ever since I was a freshman in high school, as a matter of fact. So that's going back to 2016.
Okay.
So this here is basically a simple articulation of a style of combat for one man and his story.
Okay.
This story here is something that started off on a simple concept. If it is said that God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten son so that his children may be free from the grasp of sin,
Okay.
what would it mean to a person if they loved something so dearly, almost as much, what would they do in that case? And to this man, he would go great lengths. He would embark on a path to restore his world from destruction, an unjust destruction. But more so, he would go on a long journey to right the wrongs upon his world that he saved, even when people don't see him as their savior, even when they don't even know who he is. All look upon the fiery wings that ignite from his soul. And as he strikes upon those whom dare try to execute his family, his friends, they see liberation. They see peace. They see freedom riding upon him as he strides the air. His swords, effectively his embellishment of wings. But the true wings come from within. This is the tale of what I'd like to illustrate as the soulbound saga, when one taps into not just their mind and heart, but their soul, grasps themselves from deep within and the internal conflict that burns them, and uses that as their vessel to accomplish what is seen as the impossible. Because for us as living beings, we are capable of doing what many would see as the impossible. We have journeyed into the stars. We have reached as far as we can in the depths of the earth. We have gone across the globe from sea to shining sea, from continent to continent, learning the languages and translating them to make it easier for us to understand, to return to the days before the Tower of Babel. We have done these magnificent things. Yet in these ages, we seem to stagnate. We have degenerated ourselves. We have stained ourselves in disgusting activities which have debased us to not more than sensitive people. A sensitive people who are afraid of change, who are afraid of being wrong, who are afraid to think that we are not at the peak of ourselves, when the peak of human capacity is constant entropy, constant growth. We could have reached the heights that we see in films nowadays. We're well past 2015 and say, look back at Back to the Future 2. You saw how advanced that city in in California was. Mm-hmm. And it's nowhere near advanced as it is now. If anything, it looks worse now. We are bordering on the edges of greatness, and we can constantly do so. And if not by ourselves, with each other. Because with the infinite power of growth within us, given to us by God and bestowed upon us when we committed sin, and now that we are saved, we can achieve what many of us now see as an impossibility many years later. Even if we eventually die, others could carry on that torch. And maybe in our spirits, we could see excellence achieved that many of us saw oblivion. That's what I believe. And that is ultimately why I craft this story now. To empower within us that within our very souls, that our body's cage is a wellspring of infinite potential. To save ourselves from perhaps the more deadlier contagions. To be able to reach far beyond the stars. To find potential life in places that we may not see. Or perhaps better, bring life that we have here to there. To plant that soil, to bring forth new life. To discover bounds within galaxies and within this universe. And if it is even possible, discover boundaries that our vision of the foreseeable universe is not a boundary at all, but is an extension further.
That was incredible. That was fucking phenomenal. Oh, this is a story. This is a biblical.
It
Nah, dudes, I don't give a fuck what they say. You ain't slow, bro. Nah, man, you ain't slow. Nope. You way ahead of time. And you see good in humanity. You see what we could do.
Yes.
Dudes, I see why your daddy stands 10 toes down with you. He see what others don't see because they don't want to look deep enough. And I'm sure when the beginning of this interview started, people probably are thinking this, that, and this. But like, you know, you a good dude, dudes. You are what Gen Z needs.
Yes. And I believe that I'm the type of person that Gen Alpha will need too.
Gen Alpha, that's what
the next generation.
Our kids.
Basically our kids.
Okay.
These are the type of kids that are growing, learning our mistakes, and they're not learning what not to do. They're mirroring them. I'm scared of that. Because if the current cycle of degenerosity, and this goes beyond just the falsity of Black excellence replaced with Black degenerosity, this extends to every single person in every single race. And if you believe so, even to those of any gender, regardless of whom you are, this extends to all of us as human beings, as humanity. If we continue this cycle of degenerosity, it will constantly flow. Much like a landslide, much like an avalanche. If the cycle continues, it will exponentially get worse. Or perhaps I should say logistically worse. Because there will be some point when it plateaus. And that plateauing point is our annihilation. Only the positive.
What you mean annihilation? What you talking about? Like the end of humanity?
Effectively. To basically describe the only way humanity brings about its own downfall is to constantly live and reinforce in its own negative beliefs. By devaluing ourselves to the standards that we set to ourselves when we can be more, is to limit our infinite possibility. By living in the stereotypes that others have given us, we debase ourselves. To the Black women who think that the ratchet ghetto culture is a form of strength, you are stripping yourselves of the true angelic potential that you can become. You could be goddesses in these industry.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
Yet you lessen yourselves as nothing more as desecrated idols. And why? Because the people who are in charge give strength to this debasing material, to this dark matter. By giving strength in the negativity, by becoming what it is as a twisted form of power, we try to empower ourselves in the short term, but rob ourselves in the long term. And as our generations continue, and they pick up on these negative signs and continue that, the signs of destruction shall only grow further. We'll continue to mistrust nature, constantly abuse it, try to seek of ways to grow in the energy-friendly world when we're not ready for it yet, and constantly drain ourselves of energy. Try to seek ways to economically build ourselves without this form of capitalism that people try to deconstruct, when in actuality, it only worsens things for the people who cannot afford the luxuries that those of the extremely established, the billionaires and the trillionaires, have, that the common man cannot. By giving ourselves to these ideals that only exist in a vacuum and not applying them to the common whole, we lessen the destruction that it has in actuality. by living in our own bubbles, in our own realities, by taking these negative things and try to wear them as symbols of honor, we weaken ourselves as a whole and turn ourselves into lesser beings than those of our previous generations, quite literally evolving backwards, de-evolution.
Why did you mention the black woman particularly?
It is because I've seen a lot of it recently, especially with the recent BET 2024 awards and how many people are discontent, to say the least, with how awful and disgusting that it is. It promotes these people showing their bodies around, gyrating it around. And I must say that I too am kind of disgusted that my own flesh feels this thing and feels somewhat manipulated by it. Even. I too am not perfect after all. I've seen many of the mass amounts of filth that have spurned across the internet, whether it be in real life or fictitious fabrications. Many of which have more of a tangible disgust than the words that leave my mother's mouth.
Houston, get ready for a New Year's Eve experience that will go down in history. I'm live on stage at the Bayou Event Center, December 31st. Doors open at 8 p.m. and the show starts at 9 p.m. Followed by an after party that might shut down the city. And let me take the time to thank our sponsor for this event, Rockstar Wireless. And if you're looking for reliable and affordable wireless service, Rockstar Wireless has plans starting at just $19.99 a month that offers unlimited talk, text, and up to 15 gigabytes of high-speed data. Visit rockstarwireless.com now. Hurry up and get your affairs in order and get ready to bring in New Year's Eve with me, Tasha K, on stage. Tickets are selling real fast, so reserve your seat now via my website, TashaKOnStage.com, and I can't wait to party with y'all in Houston. Paris.
Yes.
You released a video of you and DeJuan Blair in the bed. Angel Love from Basketball Wives, Baby Daddy.
This was my husband. This was going to be my husband. You would have still had me just like he had her. But you crossed the line with somebody in my house.
You brought somebody in your house?
In my bed. And you're cheating and lying to me, saying that you're out of town and you're 9 minutes down the street.
He brought somebody that was 400 pounds.
A big, thick, chunky guy. I see you have a fetish of chubby people. But damn, 5'8" and 350, almost 400 pounds, that's beyond me. You see me walking here, I don't look like that. You see the class and the sophistication that I have.
Watch this full program and other exclusive content on www.TashaKLive.com.
The olive leaf extract can reverse high blood pressure and diabetic high blood sugar, or the sugar as some of our grandmamas may call it. It can also kill any nasty little bugs in your bodies like parasites, bacteria, fungi, tumors, and much, much more. And if that's not enough, you can also tell certain cancers like breast, prostate, colon, liver, and skin cancer to take a seat because the olive leaf extract has been known to fight it. And their friend lupus can get it too. So visit myoliveleaf.biz to help get your health in order.
Hence why I label the BET Awards as the BDT Awards, the Black Degenerosity Television Awards. Because that's all that it is, degenerosity. And this isn't limited to just black people. This is to everyone. It's obvious that sex sells in every industry. But to capitalize on it as such is nothing more than a short-term investment for this, in exchange, destroying humans on an intellectual and potential level. We used to send rockets up into the stars and be able to reach up to Pluto and beyond. But now, when's the last time you saw a rocket ever reach space and not crash, burning up in the atmosphere? I bet you it's been years, hasn't it?
Well, they got the spaceship stuck up there right now. They got some people up there, and they can't get them home. So they having to send Elon Musk up there to get them. But they don't even know if Elon Musk rocket gonna make it. So
And therein lies the problem. There is a lack of stability. There is no stabilization. There is no order. There is no near guaranteed method to get those people down from there. And hence why they're stuck. Hence the paranoia of even trying to reach into space further to begin with, because we can't even save our own people who are stranded up there.
I think there is a reason. And I'm going to say this because, Deuce, you will be coming back to my platform, okay? And we won't have to talk about your mother. We can talk about all the things that you observe while walking this earth, while playing video games, while reading, and while connecting with source energy, which is art, because God is an art. God is the creator of all things. And when you create, you are God and you are directly connecting with source energy. And the moment we stop creating and we let a computer create for us, we are killing ourselves.
Yes.
And there's a reason why I feel they label people like you who are socially awkward. They want to put labels on you. They want to say that you're autistic. They want to say that you have Asperger's. They want to say all of these things.
They want to create a vessel to fear us,
right,
to treat us as beyond the norm, something that should not be striven for. When we are in actuality, and this is probably the biggest form of boasting that I've ever given in my life, when people like us are perhaps the potential to continue on humanity's future. People like Albert Einstein, like Stephen Hawking.
Oh my God, Jesus Christ. Jesus.
We are the people that look at the world differently. And we bring a new perspective. And in those new perspective, it gets people questioning, what if we could do this? What instead of A and B, what if we look at this? Why don't we look at point alpha before we reach point A and B? What if we brought this in? What will point A and B look now? I said this to my mother in one of our last calls. She asked me if I was a pawn or a king. I said neither. If I were to be anything in the game of chess, I'd want to be the board. A pawn is obvious, but for a king, the entire game rests on his shoulders, and he is still in control of the players. If anything, the one constant in a game of chess is the board. Every bishop is always situated on a white and black square that they always move upon. Every rook moves on a cardinal direction of that 8x8, not 8x8, I believe. Wait, is it 8x8? I think it's 8x8.
I don't know.
Let me see. There you have rook, knight, bishop, king, queen, and then there's a replica of the first three. So yeah, it's an 8x8 grid. On that 8x8 grid, the players always work in bounds of that grid, because that is where the true law lies. It is the law of the land. In war, what is the first thing that is most important? Intelligence. What is the terrain? Are we dealing with the forest? Are we dealing with the desert? How are we going to maneuver with those? Can we employ any form of stealth, tactics? What can we apply? Because the most important tool is knowing what you're dealing with. How do you play the game? And how you play a game is dictated by how it is established, by the foundation. In chess is the grid. It is that 8x8 board, a board. In the game of war, even though it is not a game, It is dictated by the land that is seen as the war zone. In, say, a board game like Monopoly, every piece always moves in that property zone. You gain cards, community and chess cards from that zone. You go to jail on that board. You place houses and hotels on that board. Why strive to be a piece that is controlled? Why strive to be a piece that is controlled by, that is always controlled by something else or hinged behind the decision of something else, when you can be the very thing that dictates how far those people and those pieces can go? Why be the functioning cog when you can be the boundary that decides it? Why be the materials of an architecture's new building when you can be the land that dictates how far and how high they can build? And that there describes me. I think beyond what many people normally think. Sometimes to a level that is unnecessary, but sometimes it becomes necessary and leads people to think that there's more to this than meets the eye. And it's something that my oculi, the vehement oculi, can detect.
Can we leave it here? Because that just summed the whole universe up, Deuce.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Certainly.
And I know you probably already know this, but don't let nobody tell you something wrong with you.
Trust me, no one ever will. The only thing that determines how strong or how weird I am is myself. And that doesn't apply to just me. That applies to you and to everyone else. All of us. We are as strong as we allow ourselves to be. And though there are some limitations, there are some people that have already become the board. We too can become our own boards.
We'll be back. No, normally I say now we gotta go bye, but we'll be back. Thank you. Dude, I've never clapped for my guests ever. Damn. I'm inspired. And I just want to say this. Shout out to your father, Sam Odom, because he raised you.
Most certainly.
And he's always said, Tasha, there's nothing wrong with my son. And I remember doing the first interview with you and people were trying to say, no, it's something. It's Asperger's. It's this. It's something. And whatever a parent says about their child, I believe them. But your mother has told a lot of lies.
Her credibility is down in the abyss with her.
And, but your daddy, as a black man, has always said there is nothing wrong with my son. And he's still, to this day, because I called him. I said, is Deuce ready to have an interview? He said, let me talk to him. And he came to you and asked, he came back, he said he's ready. I'm like, wow. Wow. I was a little worried in the beginning. However, I'm not worried no more. And if you ever decided to get into politics, my brother, and run a country or two, I'm coming to be up under your leadership. Okay? Thank you. All right, we're done. Okay.